Hi, I'm Susan O'Flynn, and I'm interviewing on behalf of the Student Radio Association and University of Manchester's Fuse FM. And today I'm very excited to be joined by Andy Hull.
Hi.
Of the Manchester Orchestra.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great.
So I guess before we start, do you want to tell me a bit about yourself, a bit about your role in the Manchester Orchestra?
Sure. I'm like lead idiot in the band. I started the band when I was 17 years old, coming up on our 20th year anniversary pretty soon. But yeah, I started as a small high school band and slowly but surely started gathering fans around the world and named our band after this town. And ever since we first came over here, y'all and the fans here have like adopted us as a hometown show. So anytime we come over, we make sure we have to come over here too.
And I guess before we properly start talking about your new EP, I really want to talk about the name, Manchester Orchestra. What part of the Manchester cultural scene do you most relate to with your music?
I guess for me, being, a sad bastard 16-year-old listening to the Smiths and New Order and this sort of moodiness didn't quite reflect like the sunshiny suburbs of the southern United States where I'm from. Felt like my heart was much more like these artists in Manchester that were pouring it all out. And then when I finally came over here, it was like winter, sun's going down at like 3:30, and I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I see why all these people are writing these songs.
You're like, this is my place.
This is
like,
where I belong.
This is where I relate to.
I got the eyeliner out and I went full goth, never turned back.
So would you say it's that kind of punk rock scene that you really relate to?
Well, I think as I've gotten older, the thing that I really love and appreciate about it is, and what I love about this city compared to others, is it's such a real town. Like I feel like the people here when I'm walking around, I feel like I know who these people are. It doesn't feel forced. It feels real. It feels like working class, real people getting things done. And I feel like that's very much a sort of part of our band's ethos in general. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you guys have been around for what, a decade and a half?
Yeah, like our first record came out in 2005, so yeah, 18 years.
So it's quite a long time. Have you seen your sound really develop over that time? How would you say you've seen it develop?
I guess just naturally it's evolved. You're writing different songs at 18 than you are at like 36. But we've always been a band that's sort of like asked deeper questions, life questions in our music. So I feel grateful that even though the sound has evolved, I'm still really proud of the stuff that we released when we were starting. I don't have any of those like cringy, there's plenty of them, but they just haven't been released. But any of those things are like, I wish I wouldn't have, written that song, blah, blah, blah. But really, I think, just like doing anything in your life, when you do it 10,000 times, you're gonna, hopefully get better at it and it'll continue to evolve and, we like the challenge of not repeating ourselves, so that's been another helpful tool.
It's so nice that you don't have a kind of sense of embarrassment over your earlier stuff that when you did when you were 18. That's not nice, but it's like it's very
fortunate.
Very fortunate.
We go back a year before that. There's plenty under the hood that nobody needs to hear.
And I want to turn more specifically to your new EP, Valley of Visions. When I was listening to it earlier this week, I found the music and the sound of the record and the EP to be really evocative and really beautiful. Obviously, that's enhanced by the lyricism. There's amazing writing on the record. But I also found with the sound of it and the production style, what elements did you say are you most proud of including in that production?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a different types of DNA of what kind of music that we make in the band. And this was really an exercise to eliminate a really big part of it, we're also a loud rock band that can be kind of rowdy and raw, and this was like a real challenge to just strip all of that away. So like taking away pretty much all guitar, all really loud drums, and then it was like a 2-year, just search for what sounds could fill that out, still be dynamic, but not using, certain like tricks or tools that we've used in the past. And so, yeah, it ended up being like the whole thing sort of sounds like it's floating to me. It's very ethereal. But yeah, it was just a really fun challenge to try and like attempt to do something that we hadn't done before.
It's like as I was saying, it's a super evocative sound on the record. It's really impressive. And I was also noticing there was a really reconciliatory tone that permeates a lot of the record. Would you say, the thing that I got from the lyrics especially is it feels like a very personal record. Would you say that's a fair thing to say about the record?
I don't think that I write anything that isn't personal. It's sort of like the gift and the curse, you know? A lot of like, I'm really fortunate this is my job, but a big way that I also process things in my life and deal with anxiety and depression and, you know, hard moments is by writing it out. Some people journal, and I'm fortunate to have a guitar, and that's a way that I'm able to like work through things, you know. A lot of times when you can get something out and take a look at it, it becomes a whole lot less scary than staying inside of you. So this is just sort of like a big platform to do that.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you're talking about a way of processing those emotions. And you said that's kind of always been an undercurrent of the band and behind all the behind all the projects that you've done.
Yeah, I think that's why I started writing songs in the first place. You know, it wasn't like I never had the like I want to be the guy that's headlining Madison Square Garden. It was more like I would like to be a great songwriter, but more importantly, I would like to get these thoughts out of my brain, you know, and onto a piece of paper and whatever crude recording equipment I had at the time. There was just something really exciting about that, and still to this day, it's a part of generally my daily process of kind of getting up and picking up a guitar and kind of letting whatever needs to come out.
Yeah, and so I want to turn now to the visuals of the album, because you have the VR film with the Daniel duo. Tell me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but it's Daniel Scheinert.
Yes.
And Daniel Kwan.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
That's right. You nailed it. Yes.
Okay. I was noticing that it kind of goes really well with the music. Was working with them always a part of the project to value visuals, or did it kind of come out when you were creating the record?
So those guys, we've just been collaborators with them for a really long time. Since 2011 for a music video we did called Simple Math. The person who ended up directing the VR and writing it is a guy named Isaac Dietz from Atlanta. The Daniels had worked on almost all of our video stuff up until then. And that was just like, I'd never seen it done before, to make a movie for an album in VR, and it was such a new technology. So this sort of idea, like, man, we should, you know, experiment and see what we can create. And he just basically went and spent the night in all of these insane locations across the U.S. and got all these really crazy wide shots of nature and put it to the music. So the idea was like, you know, you don't want it to take away, but you also don't want it to just look like a screensaver. So they sort of are married in a nice way.
And I think the VR element to the video really makes it feel more visceral. That's what I thought when I was watching it.
Yeah.
It feels really visceral, and it feels like you're really in it because you can move around the picture.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a lot of things hidden, you know, and so it's fun. Like you can just go take a peek at a lot of little things we put in there, you know. Yeah.
So were they always the obvious partnership then? Did they approach you with the idea of filming, or did you kind of approach them? You said that you kind of worked together.
I made a music video called Telepath, and I knew I wanted to do something long form. And so, it was just, you know, when you find a collaborator that you really love working with, you plant the seed early. And he had been experimenting with a lot of like interesting micro zooming in on frozen objects, and he had shown me all these like tests that he was doing, and I played a couple of songs from Valley that we were working on while he was doing it. And it was like, whoa, this is sort of meant to be together, and then took it a bunch of steps further from there.
Really fruitful partnership. I should say for viewers and listeners, it is on YouTube. I would definitely recommend checking it out because it's really great. Did you, when you saw the final product, were you really impressed with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing, you know, when I listen to the record, it feels like floating, and then when I watch it, it feels like I'm literally floating. So I was excited about it.
Yeah, it's got the zooming in angles. It works so well. And obviously an EP anticipates a full album.
Sure.
Can we expect the similar kinds of themes in the full album as well as the EP, or will you expand on them?
I'm still working on it, you know, like we have something planned, but we still have so much work to do. So next year will be a creative year, and we'll kind of figure out what comes next.
Yeah. Also, this has just popped into my head, but we were just talking about film, and you were obviously citing the Daniels. Do you have any other film inspirations that you... film artists, filmmakers?
Oh, I mean, sure. There's so many of them. Yeah, I'm obsessed with movies of all kinds. I mean, my favorite's probably Paul Thomas Anderson. But I think I've always looked at songs like movies and albums like movies. And so, I think all the medium of film is an incredibly influential part of like the whole process for us. And I'm always thinking about what is going to be the visual component you know, of this music that we're making.
Does that also inspire the lyrics then sometimes?
I mean, sure, absolutely. You know, something like, you know, a great movie with a great storyline is going to kind of inform something in me emotionally that maybe I wasn't able to pick out by myself, you know.
Yeah, well, I guess that kind of wraps everything up.
Amazing.
But I guess before we finish, do you have any upcoming projects that you yourself or anyone in your band's working on at the moment you're particularly excited for? Or?
I can't talk about any of them, but we got things coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, stay tuned.
Right on.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Bye.